Om Sri Sai Ram, offering my most prayerful salutations at Bhagawan's lotus feet and conveying my heartfelt Sai Ram to all the devotees of Bhagawan. I would like to share some of my thoughts on the most valuable lessons I had learnt at Bhagawan's lotus feet over the years of my stay here. At the very outset, I would like to say that it is much better for me to say that he allows me to stay here than to say that I am staying here. Because there was a profound statement made by Bhagavan to be consumed by all the devotees all over the world. The most significant statement made by Bhagavan was that people could come to his lotus feet only when he allowed to be here. That means people might try, however much you may try, but until and unless Bhagavan willed it, it was probably never possible for somebody to reach his lotus feet. But he was so magnanimous that he allowed countless number of devotees to reach out to his lotus feet and also to be a part of his vision and mission. In the year 1979, when Bhagavan started a degree college at Prasanthi Nilayam, Sri Sathya Sai Art, Science and Commerce College, I was blessed with the golden opportunity to be an instrument in his hands to serve him through the educational institution. Ever since I came to Bhagavan as a raw candidate, as a layman from the roadside, I began to learn any number of lessons from Bhagavan on the most important aspect of Bhagavan's mission. Bhagavan's mission was, according to me, the most important message he prioritized was to convey the purpose of life to all his devotees. What is the purpose of life actually? We are all here on the planet and we are simply living our lives. But the question always was, are we leading a meaningful life, a fulfilling life, a life with the desired purpose? What I mean by saying this is, in Adhyatmic parlance, they always say, the realized souls, that you must desire for something in this world. It's not that you should be desireless. It's not desireless. Desirelessness is not the purpose, not at all. You are supposed to have some desires. But the condition is that you are going to have a desire without desiring for which your life will not be fulfilled. What is that thing that we have to desire for? The thing, according to Bhagavan, that we have to desire for is redemption. Redemption from life itself. Sanctification of life is the real purpose of coming into this world. Why sanctification? Bhagavan explained to us in any number of interviews when he talked to the staff members of the university, also staff members in the company of students, and also when he addressed thousands of devotees, he made one point very, very clear to us. The most important point he brought to our notice was that Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham is, out of all the creations in this world, the life of a human being is considered to be the most precious and very difficult to attain. It's not easy to be a human being on this planet. When he was explaining this to us in the year 79, 80, in our early years, there was a staff member who asked a question to Bhagavan. Swami, why do we think Manava Janma, the Janma of a human being, is very difficult to attain? Why is it so? And what is the difference between Manava Janma and other Janmas? Then Swami, in a very polite tone and in a very simple manner, he wanted to explain and said, human being's life is very precious and it takes a long time to explain the significance of human life. But for your understanding, it is enough if I bring to your notice that you go out onto the road, look around everywhere, you will see a number of species enjoying their lives in a different manner. There are so many species on this planet. If you go onto the road, you will see a lot of animals moving around, maybe dogs, donkeys, oxen, cows, birds, snakes. So many species are there. So many birds types are there. So much of life is there in this world. Then what is the difference between all that life form and human beings? Until and unless you are specially endowed with this gift to be a human being, you cannot get this form. The only distinction between that life form and a human being is that a human being can express himself. And also he can discriminate between what is good, what is bad, what is to be done, what is not to be done, how to live, how not to live. This distinctive character of human beings is a unique quality with which human beings are blessed. And so now that you have become human beings, you will have to conduct yourself as human beings, but not like other creatures in the world. And Bhagavan was always driving us onto the road to behave as human beings. In one of his talks, when Bhagavan said as to why he was starting educational institutions, in addition to all the educational institutions existing everywhere, he made a very, very, very significant observation. Bhagavan said, why should I actually add one more educational institution to all the institutions existing? And he himself answered that question. And he said, the purpose of educational institutions being conducted by Bhagavan is to make human beings or individuals into finer beings, wonderful beings who are able to understand the purpose of life and serve the universe. That is the purpose. Unlike in all other educational institutions where people go to acquire qualifications to probably eke out a livelihood. But that was never the purpose of educational mechanisms as desired and designed by Bhagavan Baba. Bhagavan Baba clearly said, in my educational institutions, education will be driven by human values-oriented systems. Human values are the most important aspect of education in Swami's institutions. That point is made clear by Bhagavan when he said, or when he quoted, Vidya purpose is to bring out the latent divinity in human beings. That is the purpose, very purpose of education. In India, through Vedas, Upanishads, Itihasas, and also extensively produced literature in the name of Satakas and so many books rendered by great scholars, it has always been brought to our notice that the purpose of education is to see to it that every person develops a wonderful character. That's why Bhagavan said, the end of education is character. And if you don't have character, that education is a big waste of time. And through education, You are supposed to become a human being and understand the purpose that you are there to serve the society. When I say serve, I am reminded of a wonderful observation made by Swami. Swami himself made an observation once saying that when we worship him as God, Swami, you are God, you are our master. He immediately said, no, Bangaru, I am your servant. I have come here to serve you. That was really a shocking revelation. He says, I don't expect anything from you but to transform you into good human beings so that you actually see to it that your own life is sanctified. What does it mean by life sanctification actually? In this context, Bhagavan gave a wonderful answer to this doubt that lurks in our minds. The purpose of life. What is life? And why life is like this, and what should be the end of its purpose? Swami quoted Shankara Bhagavad Padalu, Shankaracharya, and he said, what did he say? He made one statement, Janma Dukkham Jara Dukkham. This statement Swami made to us, and immediately he explained to us and saying, life is full of sorrow, life is full of problems. You think there is pleasure in life, but you hardly realize that there is no much pleasure in life. Life is a bundle of problems from beginning to the end. While explaining this point to us, he said, out of 24 hours in a day, 23 hours, 59 minutes, 59 seconds, it is pain. And only 1 second, it is pleasure. That 1 second pleasure, you take it for granted and think that it is all pleasure. And you go on pursuing that pleasure, considering it as something permanent, it is going to be with you. It's not like that. It's not true. In one's life, pleasure is always a very, very, very brief interval. It's a brief interval. And the rest of the time is all pain. And he said, look at all the individuals in the society. Whatever they do, they get pleasure only for a bit of a time. All the other time, it's not there. It's absent there. Explaining this point, he went further and said, if you think that it is possible for you to derive pleasure from the objects existing outside you, you are mistaken. The objects outside will not be able to give you that kind of pleasure which is eternal, which is necessary, which must be pursued, which you must attain. The objects outside you in the world give you pleasure momentarily. Temporary pleasure only is given. Otherwise, you think of an example. Bhagavan Baba himself gave this example. He said, if you are interested in eating, say, gulab jamun, and you think there is great pleasure in eating gulab jamun, then go on eating. Let us see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many will you eat? And at a particular point of time, that gulab jamun stops giving you pleasure. On the other hand, might give you a vomiting sensation. Pleasure is not there in it. In the same way, any object after which you run in this world cannot give you Shashwata Ananda, the permanent pleasure, or the kind of Ananda that you need to get to understand that this pleasure which you derive from outside is not real. Then where is it? How do you get it? Bhagavan said, Ananda is within you. It is inside you. You have to cultivate that attitude to be happy all the time. The Ananda is not outside. It's within you. How do you do it? How do you get that Ananda then? Swami said, when you live for yourself, when you live for yourself by trying to get things from outside, that Ananda is momentary. But if you begin to love for others in the world and you make it a habit, or probably when it becomes an innate nature with you to live for the pleasure of others, that kind of pleasure that which you desire or which comes out of you is real ananda which is sustained forever. You have to make it a habit. You have to live for others. If it becomes a part of your life, it becomes a mechanism, and you are living for the happiness of others in the society, you make it a habit. Always live for others. Try to give as much happiness as possible for others. Then what happens is that pleasure becomes an internalized pleasure, and it is always there, keeping you always happy. Probably a time will come when you do not do something for somebody on a particular day to give him happiness, you feel really that day being wasted. That is the extent to which you go. Explaining this point again, Bhagavan Baba said, showing his hand, this hand of mine knows only giving and giving and giving. It doesn't know taking from anybody anything. You know why? Giving gives great pleasure. And when I give, I want you to learn to give. Are you giving? Are you there to give? Are you practicing to give? In case you are not practicing, at least you should learn to give. Why? Why should you give? Swami explained every point in crystal clear terms. You need to give. Then Bhagavan said, you need to give to the society. Society means all around, wherever you are. Maybe if you take it in the broadest sense, what you give to the universe at large. You will have to contribute to the balancing of the universe itself at large. What I mean by balancing is by keeping pace with the universe and by maintaining peace at universal level. It's a very big concept where you need to give. That means you don't disturb the peace in the universe. How do you do that? Bhagavan Baba, while explaining this point, told us that this knowledge is all there already in Vedas and Upanishads. I am just reminding you. It's not that I am actually bringing this out from anywhere. From Vedas, I am quoting this and I am giving you. I am putting this forth to you to understand and practice it in your life. I'll give you only one example, he said. What example? He said, very beautifully, from the Vedas and the Upanishads, the message given to human beings, there are many messages, millions and millions of messages are given. One message, for example, to make you understand is, why don't you cultivate Trikarana Suddhi? Trikarana Suddhi is one message about which Swami extensively spoke. You are a human being and Trikarana Suddhi must be your nature. It should be your nature. What is Trikarana Suddhi? While explaining this point again, Swami said, Manasyekam, Vachasyekam, Karmanyekam, Mahatmanam. Manasyekam, Vachasyekam, Karmanyekam, he explained. Manasyekam, what you think in your mind, whatever thoughts. After all, mind is a bundle of thoughts. It doesn't allow you to keep quiet. So it is manaha which actually creates all problems. According to Bhagavan, it drags you into the world. And one day, while talking about manaha, while explaining Trikarana Suddhi, Swami mentioned, this mind, it's a monkey mind. It does not allow you to be stable with yourself. It does not allow you to be calm with yourself. And Swami used something sensational and said, your mind will be erupting with tsunamis, he said. There are so many tsunamis in your mind. So many thoughts, millions and millions of thoughts. It pumps. Millions and millions of thoughts. Even as you are doing something, thousands of thoughts are crossing your mind at the same time. It's a miraculous creation by God. It's a fantastic creation. It is impossible. That's why Swami said, it is impossible to control your mind. It's not possible. To control mind, many methods are given in Indian spiritual wisdom. For example, meditation is one, yoga is another. There are so many methods explained by Bhagavan. And in that context, Swami explained yoga also. How do you control thoughts and your mind so that mind is not allowed to stray away from the focused goal of sanctifying your life, working for sanctification of your life. Swami said mind and yoga, controlling. And what is yoga? Swami was talking from the Yoga Sutravali and the first sutra. He said, Yogaha chitta vritti nirodhakaha. First principle. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodhakaha. Yoga, when we talk, you think yogasanas and all that. Could be that, no doubt about it. Yogasanas are a part of yoga. But at the same time, there is a second aspect to the physical exercises being communicated in the form of yoga, according to Bhagavan. Bhagavan said, Yogaha is also a spiritual meaning. There is a spiritual connotation. That connotation is about controlling your chitta. What is chitta? He said it's mind. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodhakaha. The word vritti is aptly defined by Bhagavan. He said in Sanskrit, the word vritti is equivalent to business. Business is equal to nature. Nature of an organ. What is the nature of an organ? You have to understand if you want to have some control over that organ. For example, nose. It has got the sense to smell. A tongue. It has got the business to taste. In the same way, yoga, Swami said, chitta vritti nirodhakaha. So you need to control this. So he said, chitta's vritti, until and unless it is controlled and reined in, it is not possible for us to become finer human beings. If you want to become a finer human being, the mind has got to be controlled. But if you want to control the mind, you should know what is mind. If you want to understand what is mind, you should have knowledge of it. Knowledge is possible only through education. And education should always be on the right lines. Swami, clearly explaining the purpose of his educational institutions, he said, I am not running these educational institutions to distribute degrees as begging bowls, to go out with these begging bowls and seek a job. No, that's not the purpose at all. Education has got to bring out the latent divinity in you. You become a broad-minded person. The more and more and more you are educated, the more and more and more finer individual you should become. Is it becoming or not is the question Bhagavan asked us. Bhagavan said, what's happening with education today? We have converted probably education into the best business possible. Education was never business in India. From since times immemorial in India, education was based on Gurukula system, and Swami's educational system is a modern type of Gurukula education. It's a modern type of educational system, Gurukula system. Students and teachers live together. They help each other. They serve each other. Teachers serve the students. Teachers wholeheartedly serve their students. They love all their children as their own children. One of the interactions with Bhagavan in the portico or foyer in the institute auditorium, Swami asked all of us teachers to gather there. We all gathered around his lotus feet. He came to college after bhajans, after Harti got over. He came there. He was sitting in a sofa. We were sitting around him. And he was probably conducting a course for all of us to teach us how to be good teachers in the early days. This is in 79-80. And Swami was making some wonderful observations. I was thrilled and I was touched by those comments. I'll give you one example of the directions given by Bhagavan. Swami looked at all of us and said, as teachers, it is your responsibility to work for the welfare of the students, and every student should be focused on. Every student in the class must be treated as your own child. Oh my God, it's a very, very, very magnificent way of saying something. Very magnificent. To talk of every student as your own child, your own child. Get the spirit of the observation. Your own child. How do you love your child? Your own son? Is it possible for you to love a student in the class as your own son? Can you raise to that level? Is it happening in the world? No. I don't think actually they even understand the principle, first of all. I don't think they are aware of this principle. Swami made us aware of this principle and said, I am giving you my children to teach. It's very tough to catch the spirit of that observation. I am giving you my children to be taught by you. And in that context, Swami said certain fantastic things, revelations. You know, Puttaparthi is a remote village. And in a remote village, there is a college, there is a university. And people come and join here. Why should they come here? Most of the people may not love to come and join this institute at all. But you know, my devotees want all their children to be students of these educational institutions out of their devotion for me. They bring their children and get them admitted in these institutions so that they are under my observation, under my guidance, and they receive my blessings and they blossom into wonderful individuals. There is a great desire, there is a strong desire in their minds to keep all their children under my guidance, under my guardianship. Now, what I am doing is, I am keeping all those children under your guardianship. You teachers, I am transferring that responsibility of taking care of all the children onto your shoulders, and your shoulders are getting burdened now. The burden is very heavy. And my devotees have got very great faith in me. They think that if children are here, they would become very, very, very fine individuals. I am transferring that burden onto your shoulders and expecting all you teachers to play such a role that you take care of the children and make them into finer individuals and beings by focusing all your time and energies on them. What a noble thought it is. Was it not like this in ancient India? When the children lived with the Guru and his Guru's wife in ashrams and they never went out until education was completed for years and years? Is it not the same kind of philosophy that is taught to us by Bhagawan Baba here to be followed in our institutions? So all the time a teacher should be available, and all the time you are teaching, all the time you are focusing on widening the horizons and thought of the individual students. And you, as much as you focus on your own child, is it possible for you to focus on others' children also? Are you not supposed to do it? Should you not do it according to Bhagavan Baba? And he told us, clearly he gave us this message and said, I want you to love all these children who are in the institute as your own children and teach them. If you do not do that, he gave us a warning in those days. He said, if you do not love all these children as your own children, and you do not teach them wholeheartedly, and you don't pay much attention to them, God will not pay much attention to you. You should be careful. Only when you perform your dharma, God will also perform his dharma. How much you love your children, you must love others' children also. There should be no distinction in educational institutions between your children, your own children, and the children of others who come to be educated under your guidance. That means broadening one's mind, broadening your vision, broadening your thinking was the substance of educational system with Bhagavan Baba. So he was guiding teachers every week. He was coming and talking to us, and he was asking us, focus more and more and more on students. And your focus must be more on a weak student. Just as a mother's love is more on a weaker child compared to a stronger child. In the same way, a teacher should focus more on a weaker child, spend more time, more energies, and see to it that child also picks up and becomes a wonderful individual. And all this to be done without any expectations in turn. Spiritualized mechanism of offering education was the central focal point of Bhagavan Baba's educational institutions. Under his guidance, these institutions have been doing this job for quite a long time. And we are very fortunate because we were directly guided by Bhagavan. He gave us guidance and he was available to us all the time. Not only that, he was asking us to do our jobs, but he was also putting across to us a very powerful message. That message was sanctification of your life by doing your karma in the right manner. Whatever work is given to you, it is to be understood as a spiritual task. This has been the heritage of India. In India, since times immemorial, we know through Vedas and Upanishads and all the spiritual literature available to us, only one point was focused on as far as life of human beings is concerned. That is sanctification of life. Liberating yourself from life and death. How is this possible? Bhagavan Baba said it is possible only through sanctifying all your actions by offering all your actions at the lotus feet of the Lord. And you cannot do whatever you want and offer it at his lotus feet. All your actions have got to be spiritualized. Are you really with such a spirit entering into all actions or not is the most important task. But we are very fortunate. We are very fortunate because the divine incarnation itself was with us, guiding us. We are very fortunate. We could really reach out. We could reach by his grace. I don't say we reached there on our own. We are very fortunate that he allowed us to be with him, continues to allow us to be with him. That's why Bhagavan Baba said, until and unless I allow you, you cannot come anywhere near me. And you won't be a fit instrument in my hands. It is his grace that we are all chosen. We are here to serve his lotus feet. Now, education being the most important instrument in the process of enlightening individuals, Swami chose this path to cultivate enlightenment in all the human beings so that they sanctify their lives. But at the same time, until and unless you are given this training from very childhood, it is not possible for you to cultivate. So he started actually a primary school, a higher secondary school, and also the university. And hand-picked people were brought here. They were given the task to perform the duty of teaching. But at the same time, teachers who were from the outside world needed a lot of guidance by Bhagavan. And so relentlessly Bhagavan went on giving his guidance. His guidance was so very continuous, people would probably be shocked when they come to know that Bhagavan never rested actually. There was nothing like resting for him. He was all the time working. I'll give you some kind of an example whereby you will be surprised. One day, I believe Bhagavan was in his chamber and devotees were waiting outside, and it was hot summer. People were all sitting in summer heat, exposed to heat for a very long time, and Swami was delaying darshan. And when the people who were close to him inquire as to why devotees were waiting, Bhagavan was delaying darshan, they came to know that Swami was running very high temperature. Swami was running very high temperature always meant he actually took somebody's favor on him. Some devotee was suffering and it was his normal grace. It was his normal grace. It just flowed as simply as anything could be. So he just takes over somebody's sufferings and goes through it for some time and just drops it and gives relief to his devotees. On that day, he was probably running very high temperature, and he was delaying darshan. He was not going. And when people around him came to know, Swami, I think because you are running very high temperature, we can say that devotees are not blessed with darshan today, and you can relax and you will have darshan tomorrow. Swami didn't answer. Swami went on waiting. As they were going on offering this solution or some suggestion to Bhagavan, Swami did not mention anything. After some time, Swami said, I'm going to give darshan. And then they wanted to know as to, even when you are running so much of temperature, such high temperature, why is it that you go and give darshan, Swami? You can relax. The answer given by Bhagavan was startling. He said, how can I fail my devotees in having darshan as they were sitting there waiting for my darshan for such a very long time? It is my responsibility to go and give darshan. Swami was always more concerned about the devotees and their contentment to fulfill their desires than anything else, though he was in human form. In human form, even as he was going through fever, temperature, anything, his most important concern was to go, give darshan, and discharge his responsibilities. Even as late as in 1980s, 1990s, when we were all here and we were having college work, we come back from college at 3 o'clock and we need to go for darshan, and it is summertime, especially February, March time. It is scorching sun, it's very hot. And we come back from college, and as we were trying to have a cup of tea and gather for darshan, suddenly there would be music in mandir. That means Swami was coming out to give darshan. It's very hot it is. And then we rush, immediately run. And it was on the sands of Prasanthi Nilayam precincts where people were sitting. And the sand was very hot in those days. Even then people used to sit with their mats spread everywhere. And they sit on that and wait for darshan. And Swami comes out and gives darshan around 3:30. And it was very hot. Suddenly people rush and all that. And how is it that he aspires so much to give darshan, interact with devotees? And his love for devotees was so much that he never cared for the heat. He came, he sat there, and his concern was so much to give and give and give and give as much as possible. And when he sat on his throne, and after some time suddenly he leans forward, then you find suddenly his robe was actually wet with sweat. He was sweating, but he was sitting there. Because his concern was always to give as much joy as possible to devotees. To give and to give and to give and to give. That was his nature. And the intention probably was, this is our understanding. We people used to discuss a lot of things as devotees sitting there in the institute, teachers. How come Swami conducts like this? And then in our thoughts, in our discussions, we could really understand to some extent the thought. We could understand probably the thought that Bhagavan wanted us always to realize that there was great happiness in giving joy to others than trying to enjoy yourself. No. You enjoy yourself is something completely different. It is below the normal levels. Probably below the level of a human being also. I don't want to say that it is at the animal instinct level. But something surprising. You are doing something which causes a lot of inconvenience to you, but it is not considered as inconvenience, but it is considered as your own prime nature. It is your own original nature to give joy to others. That means probably, as we discussed among ourselves, some of us, some teachers, It was always the nature of Swami to give joy to others. To give joy to others was like food to him. What we consider as food to ourselves, the normal food, his food was to give joy to others. And so he comes around at 3 o'clock. He comes out even when inconvenient situations were there around. A lot of people were gathering, and it was a very big crowd into which somebody would not venture, but he would venture. All that Swami said, I am here to do only one thing. I am here to give joy to all the people all around. And also there is a second aspect. That second aspect Bhagavan conveyed to us in our private conversations. Swami said, I'll do all this so that you would learn to do that in your own life. And it is necessary that you also learn this aspect. How much joy you are able to give to others is more important than how much joy you want to derive from others. What a wonderful message. Giving and giving and giving, and not aspiring to take and take and take, because taking probably is an animal aspect, maybe to some extent a human aspect also, but giving is a divine aspect. Give and give and give and give. And Bhagavan Baba was always giving and giving and giving. That's why Swami said, my habit is to give and give and give. This hand, he showed his hand to devotees and said, it knows only how to give and it doesn't know how to take. I am here to give myself to all of you. And he was always saying, are you ready? Are you ready to give yourself to others? Why? Why actually you need to give yourself to others? Because sanctification of life is the very purpose of life actually. Life has got to be sanctified. You come into this world according to scriptures. According to scriptures, as explained by divine incarnations, as explained by realized souls. Because of some karma, you come into this world. You have to go through that karma. And Swami said, life is a burden, whether you like it or not. Life in any form is a burden, but life is a burden in a human form in a different way. There is a difference. In other forms of life, according to Bhagavan, there is no awareness of life, and the burden is carried in a different way. But in a human form, there is a possibility to understand the burden of life and to get rid of life. That's why how to accomplish moksha, how to accomplish that stage is the most important. That is possible only when you live a life of sanctity, complete sanctity, and you spend all your time in the service of others. And Swami quoted. Swami gave us a quotation from the scriptures. He said, when you give your life to others, when it becomes a second nature to your life itself, your life will automatically get sanctified and there is no punarjanma. Janma rahitya. You have to move towards janma rahitya. Why? Life, whether you like it or not, is full of problems. That's why you have life, but it is a different kind of life as explained through the wonderful statement, Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham. It is impossible to be a human being. It's very difficult actually. There are so many life forms. Out of all the life forms, going through all that, when you attain the human life, how to get rid of life itself, not to be born again. For that, you have to lead a totally different kind of life where you serve the universe with a kind of total detachment without any expectations. And Bhagavan was explaining to us by giving us hundreds of examples of saints and sages and seers, so many people, especially in India. This land, Swami has got special relationship with this land, though he is universal. He loved this land. In fact, one day while talking, he asked a question. Why is it that you find all incarnations appearing only in India? All incarnations appear only in India. Why? Then he explained, and he said, this is actually Dharma Bhumi, Karma Bhumi, Yoga Bhumi, Yaga Bhumi. This is not an ordinary land. This land of Bharat is the most sanctified land where actually Bhagawan blessed us with Vedas, Upanishads, Itihasas, literature and morality, so many Satakas, so many things, so much of literature. No human being be able to consume all this literature in one lifetime. So much literature is available. And when you look at India, as explained by Bhagavan, take from Kashmir to Kerala, from Gujarat to on the other side, Bengal, every state is suffused with so much of spiritual knowledge, spiritual wisdom. It is all spirituality only, the entire country. And all these people, they are blessed with being a part of this sanctified land. And after being born, what is it that you need to do is how to sanctify your life and not to be born again. How can you accomplish that? Because Janma Dukkham, Jara Dukkham, don't come again. Say bye and done with it. For that, you have to go through spiritual exercises. And Bhagavan Baba on a number of occasions explained to us that the life has got to be charged with only one idea. The idea is Janma Rahitya. If you want to go to that level of Janma Rahitya, you have to indulge in karma, action. What kind of action? Various methods are prescribed. For example, Jnana Marga, Karma Marga, and so many other margas. Bhagavan said, Jnana Marga is good, definitely, but tough to attain. Karma Marga, according to Swami, probably is practicable. You can practice it. Go on doing work. Go on and on and on, working and working and working relentlessly with the condition, under the condition that you work for the welfare of others. You work for the happiness of others all the time, not for you. Indulging in work that actually gives joy and happiness to others. That's very, very important. When you look at all incarnations, all yogis, all other sanctified lives, rishis, all of them lived a life for the welfare of the entire universe. That is the purpose with which actually they come into this world and try to teach us all that we need to live a life which is completely sanctified and glorified in the service of others. When Swami called us all and gave us jobs to be a part of the educational institution, he gave us a number of instructions. Some instructions are baffling actually. I'll tell you one or two instructions. One instruction which he gave, or he repeatedly gave us. Again, whenever he addressed us, he mentioned that point to us again and again. Because as divine, he was aware of the fact that we tend to forget. Even if you are told repeatedly, you tend to forget that point again and again and again. So you are to be reminded of that very significant direction again and again and again. And Swami used to tell us, all these children who are all coming to our institute to be educated here, I am putting you all of them under your guidance. It is your responsibility to teach them. Now he reminded us of the sacredness of that responsibility. That responsibility is sacred. You can extend that responsibility to other areas of life also. But fundamentally speaking, because we are all teachers, he was mentioning it to us by saying, teach all children that receive guidance under you, considering them as your own children. Your own children. It's a very tall demand. It's a very tough demand. It's a very tough task. Can you really sit in a classroom and consider all your students as your own children? And Swami defined, when he said your own children, he made two observations while talking to us. He said, there are different kinds of putras, children. One kind is called Kama Putras, And there is another kind called Premaputras. Kamaputras, they are born out of your desire. Premaputras are blessed. They are given to you by God. They are all your children. That's why in ancient India, Swami quoted in Gurukula, the Guru and the Guru Patni considered all children as their own children. They lived with them in the Gurukula. Any number of children lived there. They received enormous love, indescribable love from Guru and Guru Patni. They were treated as their own children with so much of love, with so much of affection. They were taken care of, and education was imparted to them. Until and unless Guru certified, education was never over. That's a different story. But how much they loved. And Swami wanted us to follow the same kind of philosophy here. And he said, I am giving you my children to you. Very profound statements these are. People must pay attention to every word that Swami uttered. Swami said, all these children who are here are my children. Now I am putting all my children under your guidance. Now the most important point Swami made to us was, when you do injustice to your own child, maybe it's pardonable. But when you do injustice to the children of others, it is unpardonable crime. So better be aware of the fact that other children are not other children, but they are your own children. There is the philosophy of India. Actually, the spiritual wealth of India declares to the Guru that all children are his own children and he should love them. Same philosophy is adopted here in Swami's educational institutions. All teachers in the hostel, most of them are not married. They don't have their own family life. Their family is all the children who are with them in the hostel. And even for those teachers who are around here, they have their own families. But when they go out, there is only one family to them. That is their own students in the college. They have no other family. So how much attention you are paying to all the children in the class, and how you consider them all as your own children and impart education to them. It has been the tradition of India, the spiritual wisdom of India. Gurus did it, you do the same thing, because this educational institution is founded by none other than God incarnate himself. Out of great love, God incarnated here, and he always said to devotees also, Prem Divyatma Swarupulara. He called all of them Divyatma Swarupas, all individuals who arrived, who reached out to Swami. They are all loved with so much of love, affection, that he became father and mother and everything to everyone who reached out to him. This is indescribable saga of love. Love and love and love. That is life with Bhagavan Baba. So, Swami, as himself declared as incarnation of love, he wanted all people around him to be instruments of love. So, we received that message, luckily, by his grace, and we started functioning on those lines. Now, Bhagavan Baba was focusing on various other aspects of development also. What he wanted people was to be useful to the society. To be useful to the society means you have to indulge in service. Service is one important aspect which is a part of the entire educational curriculum at Prasanthi Nilayam. So Bhagavan Baba himself was serving people. He was serving himself. A lot of people are called. They are offered different kinds of services. Three important aspects on which Bhagavan focused. Startling kind of areas. Nobody would ever venture into these areas, I think, because all these three areas are a kind of areas where people could mint money. You can make a lot of money and become multimillionaires. But Bhagavan Baba said, I will show you what kind of service is to be offered and how service is to be offered. The three areas are highly expensive areas as well. Highly expensive means, a human effort is there. lot of effort to be put into it. Day and night people will have to work. And then lot of money to be pumped into it. Lot of efforts to be pumped, lot of human resources to be gathered. It's not possible for anybody probably to do it. It's possible only for Bhagavan Baba. How he conceived these, only he alone can explain. For example, he thought of education, he thought of water supply, and also he thought of medical attention. 3 vital areas of human life. The contribution of Bhagavan Baba is immeasurable. No one can calculate it. No one can understand it. How Swami made it possible, he alone knows. When we talk about education, he established educational institutions, I don't say across India, across the world. Across the world, Sri Sathya Sai centers of service and Sri Sathya Sai organizations all over the world have got so many educational institutions set up across the globe, where education is offered free with an idea to cultivate human qualities in beings. The idea is to mold their character, mold their minds, mold their hearts, and make them into wonderful human beings who would be of immense value to service to the world at large. Swami's educational institutions are offering such service, it is probably impossible for somebody to describe its impact. It's impossible. So many people. Today already the children who are produced by Sri Sathya Sai educational institutions for the past 6 or 7 decades or more than that. They are spread all over the world and they are serving the world in various capacities, and that cannot be valued. It's impossible for somebody to calculate. They are assets to the entire world and they are a part of divine mission. And probably causing great spiritual strength to the universe. It charges the universe. Their services charge the universe with so much of spiritual value. The world will be sustained by their services because of their honesty, because of their integrity, because of their commitment, because of their love for humanity. These are values which cannot be described by anybody. There are millions of people today on Swami's path, and they're all offering so much of service to the universe. I don't hesitate in saying that the universe is sustained by the services of all these people, because the universe is pleased, it's happy with the services of these people, and it is charged with spiritual strength. That is one thing. Second thing is, I need not say much about the water projects of Bhagavan Baba. Rayalaseema itself is the finest example where water reaches out to every threshold of millions and millions of people. Bhagavan, how he visualized, how he actually undertook this project, how it is materialized is a very big story. It's a very, very, very big story wherein Bhagavan spent millions and millions and millions, countless amount of money was spent by him. Though the governments were ready to offer, he said, no, I don't want your money, because your money is always with attachments. No attachments, no strings attached. So I am going to execute this project on my own, according to my will. And I will see to it that it reaches out to each and every thirsty soul. That's how this project is executed, which gives water, solace to millions and millions and millions of people. Indescribable. It's not done. In independent India, I don't think ever anybody undertook such a project and did it. That shows Bhagavan's love for the humanity. That is another project. The medical attention being paid is indescribable, where we have unbelievable medical services being offered with no charges at all. Even as you look at it, medical field is the best field to mint money today. But it is offered free of cost by Bhagavan. It is visualized by Mother Sai. As mother, he has got so much of love for each and every individual whom he considers as his own child. And he wants to shower mother's love on each and everybody, which he did all his life. And he still continues to do it. Even today the services are offered. medical services are offered, water is offered. Water is essential for people to survive, and especially in an area like Rayalaseema, which is completely parched. There is no water. It's a land where people said it would be turning out into a desert very soon. Academic studies, research studies declare to the world that Rayalaseema would be a desert very soon. And it is turned out into a very, very, very fertile land with a lot of people enjoying the benefits of water facility. And the whole place has become green by the grace of God. And it shows that God can do anything. And also the kind of other services being offered, social services being offered, educational services being offered, everything free of cost. Everything free of cost. You just come, enjoy the benefits, and fulfill your life. But the only probable expectation from Bhagawan was, after having received so much of love for Swami, after having received so much of concern and attention from Swami, at least we should be able to contribute something to the society by walking on that path, wonderfully laid by Bhagavan Baba for all of us. So we need to cultivate that kind of spiritual bent of mind and then serve the society. Why then? Is it to please Bhagavan Baba? Bhagavan Baba hundreds of times said, I don't have any expectations from you. I don't want anything for me. Then why do you do all that? Why Swami was going through all these projects? Why Swami was visualizing all these projects and laying so many different kinds of paths for us to walk on? It's all for only one purpose. For us to sanctify our lives, that's all. You sanctify your life by walking on that path. A golden road which is laid by Bhagavan Baba through relentless effort. I can tell you relentless effort because I do not think there was any single day when Bhagavan Baba rested in the period of the incarnation that walked this planet. Not a single day. He never took rest. And he declared on many occasions, resting is nothing but rusting. No rest at all. Then what do? Change your work is rest. His definition is that. You are tired of doing some work, change into some other work. Keep on working and working and working and working. As long as you are working, you are spiritually charged and you are contributing something to the universe, to the world. The minute you are relaxing and resting and you are not contributing something to the world, that part of the time which is considered as nothing but manifestation of God, is wasted away by you. You don't have a right to waste time, because time waste is life waste according to Bhagavan Baba. Don't waste time. Time is the most precious gift in one's life. Every second of time must be used. And if it is used in the service of others, it is much better than serving your own self. So, maximum time serving others all the time. Bhagavan Baba once made a wonderful comment, wonderful observation to all of us. I consider it as a direction given to all of us teachers. He looked at all of us in our private conversation and said, whenever your help is required somewhere, whenever some attention is required, your attention at any place, Swami said, if it were midnight, 12 o'clock, jump out of your bed, rush immediately and offer that help. You know why? If you don't jump out of your bed and offer that, somebody will grab that opportunity and utilize it, and he would win great punya out of it, which you are losing. Don't lose that opportunity. Always be ready to serve 24 hours the society, because society is nothing but a manifestation of God. Society is God. Serving society is serving God. So service and service and service and service. This is the most important message given by Swami. Serving society is serving God. Society is nothing but manifestation of God. That's how you can sanctify your life. Serve and serve and serve and sanctify your life. Jai Sai Ram.